But hey, we are live.
We are live and on the road to WrestleMania.
Indeed, we are. It looks like Facebook deleted our broadcast because Royal Rumble ran longer than I thought it would, Kevin.
Royal Rumble ran longer than I think either of us thought it would. It's been a long night, so thank everyone for staying up a little bit later with us to talk about Royal Rumble that we just saw. First, as always, before we get into spoiler territory, Doug, we'll talk winners, we'll talk losers, we'll talk our predictions, we'll talk surprises that happened tonight. But if you're watching this broadcast and didn't watch a Royal Rumble and want to know whether or not to watch the pay per view, first, spoiler free, it's Royal Rumble. You got to watch the Royal Rumble, right,
Right.
Doug? I mean, good, bad, indifferent.
Good, bad, indifferent. You got to watch Royal Rumble. I mean, it is the Rumble. It officially kicks off the road to WrestleMania. So I mean, like you said, good, bad, or indifferent, you got to watch Royal Rumble.
Have to, and I would say that if you do go back and watch this show, was it the best Rumble ever? Was it in the top three, top five, top two? Probably not. I think tonight we probably saw a pretty average Royal Rumble, Doug, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree
Um,
with that.
But there was a lot of good in the two Royal Rumble matches. Outside of the Royal Rumble matches, I'd say, honestly, you could probably skip just about everything except that last man standing match, which was pretty fantastic up until maybe right at the end, but we'll get into that here.
Another Roman Reigns overbooked bad guy heelish ending. Yeah.
So to me, you got a B minus pay per view overall. If you were only going to watch a couple of things, obviously the two Rumble matches set the stage for Mania, and then watch the Last Man Standing. Doug, overall, what would you give this pay per view?
I would go. I would go. You're going BB minus. I'm going to go C because I thought this was pretty average. Most of the stuff we saw tonight, other than well, there wasn't that many matches, but the first two matches, I was thinking, on the proper pay per view, were they could have been standard fair TV matches. I really think. I really enjoyed the women's match. There was some gimmicky stuff in there, but I mean, again, it's Royal Rumble. You're going to have it, and the men's Royal Rumble was good. Yeah, it almost seemed like a chore watching wrestling to me tonight, though.
Well, Doug, wrestling is never a chore. Uh, it is a privilege we have to have anything to watch and to do. So yeah, folks, let's get into the match by match now. But yeah, you had your spoiler free there. If you didn't see the show, it's one of those pay per views, one of the big four. You have to watch the Royal Rumble. Doug and I seem to be in agreement here that it was a rather standard Royal Rumble pay per view overall. But at least seek out the Rumble matches, at least the finishes, so that you'll know
Yeah.
what to be looking forward to these next couple of months. So let's now talk. All right, spoiler time. We're getting first match action of the night. We'll talk the pre-show, Doug. Normally the pre-show we skip over real fast because there's not much to it. Not that this was a great match by any means, but as we were just referring, Royal Rumbles are long, and now that you have a men's and a women's, you got
Hmm.
two matches that eat up 80% of your pay per view. When else are you going to see Charlotte Flair in a pre show match? Because there's
Right.
just so much on the main card they get bumped down, and it was a match that had significance. I mean, there was actual something on the line with the women's world title, and it was really it was the only title change of the night. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler regain their women's tag team championships over Charlotte and Asuka.
And I'm not sure if it was a good, bad, or indifferent match because I completely missed it, like I always seem to do with the pre-show.
It was
The pre-show
Doug.
started at like 4 in the afternoon or something. I always miss.
If you missed the only title change the whole evening happened on the pre-show, because again, when are you going to see a title match with Charlotte Flair in the pre-show other than on a Royal Rumble when there's
Right.
just not enough time for everything? It was good, bad, and indifferent. Not really a lot. I guess I should say predictable. It was fine, but as one might imagine, and knowing the outcome now, Doug, this was all about the finish where you had the very predictable interference with Ric Flair and Lacey to
Hmm.
continue that storyline, which is probably, if that's the direction they're going, it's probably smart to go ahead and get the tag team titles off of Asuka and Charlotte as far as booking decisions go. because Asuka's got her own singles title, and Charlotte obviously is moving on to this feud. There was no reason for them to be holding up those tag titles, so it made sense.
But man, does this feud go all the way to WrestleMania now?
Well, I don't know if the feud is as much Lacey and Charlotte as it is Flair versus Flair, because
Yeah,
this was Rick not just happening to stand by while his girlfriend, trainee, whatever,
right.
does something nefarious. He actively handed her the weapon that took his own daughter out. So that's the drama they're going to, and it would not surprise me if that drama gets extrapolated all the way out to Mania.
Man, I don't know if I want to see Flair versus Flair with the Lacey Evans as the surrogate there, going up against Charlotte. But whatever, man, whatever. Let's talk the main event or the main show, Kevin.
Main show. Were you surprised that they didn't bookend Rumble Rumble like they sometimes do?
I kind of like what they did, and I think Vince is watching because the first one out of the gate there, because I said depending on that match's card in the show, dictates the winner. So glad I was totally wrong about that.
Did you sweat it there for a moment?
I did. I was like, no, this is first. No, no.
We start out with the Universal title match, Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg. Not a lot to it, but I don't know. You grade this one on a curve, don't you? Because I mean,
I think you have to. I mean, Goldberg's never been known
yeah,
for his stellar Iron Man matches by any
and
stretch.
love him or don't love him, and I've never loved him, but regardless, even in his prime, Goldberg in the '90s would give you 10 minutes in the main event, and he'd come out and he'd do Goldberg things, and you know what you're going to get. He pretty much did that tonight. You got they did a little bit of shenanigans at the start to kind of draw out the match to make it seem longer than it even
Yes.
was. But once you got the bell, everybody got their moves in. Some jackhammers, some a really snug looking boot to the face there by Drew in the opening minutes. The Goldberg caught him real good.
Yes.
Um, Average, but the right outcome. Unfortunately, didn't set up anything that gets off the pay per view with a real sour taste in your mouth. With a 50-some plus Goldberg, beating Drew, that would have been definitely something that could have put a damper on the whole event for me.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that nonsense for Saudi Arabia, I guess. But definitely, the right man won here, and I'm so glad he did. And I did really like and enjoy the passing of the torch there with the
Yeah,
Goldberg showing respect and the hug and the cutting up in the ring afterwards. You know that was enjoyable to me. To me that was better than the actual match.
and honestly, it was inoffensive and did what it needed to do. Its placement on the card, as you said, was important here because for an opening contest, it was fine. If that was your main event, you might feel gypped. But as an opening contest, short, inoffensive, right man won.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of the right person winning, Doug, we go next to Sasha Banks, the boss, defending against Carmella, her SmackDown Women's Championship. And we both called this one right because we're no fools. And apparently, Vince in this instance wasn't either. This is the only booking choice that he had. Sasha
Yeah,
Banks retains, right?
I
It
was
couldn't have gone another way.
I'll always bet on the boss. Yeah, and this just wasn't a stellar match. I don't know if it was the opponent or I mean, Carmella can work, but I don't know. This could have been a TV match to me.
I put it right in the middle, B minus. I mean, there was things I liked. I liked Carmella trying to tie up Sasha by her hair. I thought that was kind of unique. Heaven forbid she ever gets in there with Bianca, because then she'll really go down.
But does that count as an automatic rope break? Because that's what I'm thinking. If she does ever get in there with Bianca, Bianca's got a lot of hair, so
A lot of hair.
it's a rope break, but she can still move quite a bit.
I really did like too, though, that really cool looking move where the sommelier caught Sasha, and then Sasha somehow using incredible core strength got herself up and out of his arms into the air to catch him in a head scissors. That was really my favorite spot in the whole match, and it was not with the two lady participants; it was with Sasha and Randall. But yeah,
Yeah. Always bet on the boss, brother. Always bet
Always
on the
bet on the
boss.
balls. Yeah, it was a tough looking dive. And I did give Carmella credit for that. I got that in my notes. She took a dive where she almost face planted and got back up and finished the match. So kudos for her for that one and the sell job. But right person won, right
Yep.
outcome.
Yet again, right person won. So WWE for the night is 2 for 2 booking so
Two
far.
for two booking. And so now we're really to the reason that everybody watches Rumble. I mean, occasionally you'll get another match in there that stand the test of time, but it's all about the Royal Rumble matches. Doug, let's talk women's Royal Rumble.
Let's talk women's Royal Rumble, man.
I made my notes here about like some. I know last week we tried to predict in our preview show, and again, thank you everyone for making our preview shows so successful. This one was the same, so thank you for watching. But surprises, return NXT, folks making appearances. A lot more women in surprises than there was in the men's match. But you had Naomi returning, Shotzi, Tony Storm. Greenup County's own Jillian Hall made her return after a very long
she
time for
did.
nostalgia. Victoria, also nostalgia pick. Santana Garrett from NXT. We had Rhea Ripley, Tori Wilson, Mickey James, Alicia Fox, Dakota Kai, and Ember Moon both coming in from NXT. So more than half the field, Doug, were non-SmackDown, non-Raw, main roster women. That was a little surprising.
It really was. I think that added to my enjoyment of just all the NXT gals. A couple of nostalgia pops in there for some of the ladies. I think Victoria looked really good tonight. Jillian was there,
and actually lasted longer in the match than I expected.
Right.
So we start off with Bayley at number 1 and Naomi at number 2. To my surprise, Bayley didn't have a better showing, considering she was one of the biggest women wrestlers of the last, of 2020. She did a lot along with Sasha to really carry WWE's women's division. She didn't really have a very memorable Royal Rumble other than being number 1.
It's like suddenly creative has nothing for Bayley, which scares me.
I at least thought we'd get the tease of her being in the final 4, and she was gone rather early. I mean, I don't even remember her getting eliminated. I just remember at one point looking around going, is Bayley still in this?
Right.
And she was gone.
What happened to Bayley?
Our pick, I guess we should mention that, Doug, the two bros, we called this one. Bianca Belair came in at number 3, which, again, as we mentioned last week, it's not always it's not all about who wins. It's who has strong showings and things like that. Well, they just gave her the Drew McIntyre treatment, where she didn't just come in and win the thing, coming in at number 29 and lasting 10, 15 minutes. She went almost bell to bell. She went 53 minutes, now the longest ever participant in a women's Royal Rumble match. And they actually took some chances with her early on too. Really early in the match, there was a couple of really risky spots they had of near eliminations for Bianca to show her athleticism and not getting eliminated and taking that chance. And man, she just looked like $1 million throughout the whole thing.
She really did. I gotta say, Naomi, coming in number 2 right after Bayley. Naomi, looked really good tonight. All of the girls in the ring looked really good tonight. I think everybody got to shine, even if it was just a little bit. Had our sprinklings of comedy in there, and a few.
I love the Billy Kay. I gotta say, the Billy Kay comedy bits of her waiting outside and trying to give her resume to find partners on the way in. That was cute and played into the character that she's been. As we said before, Royal Rumbles are a little bit of everything. You got your drama, you got your comedy, you got your nostalgia. And I think the women's match really did deliver on most of those things. It wasn't always the smoothest. There's always in Royal Rumbles with honestly an hour match and so much chaos. There's always the slow periods, the clunky periods of almost every Royal Rumble match. So I don't really knock this one too much because of that. I like the little mini Iconics reunion. I love the Naomi spot. She almost had the Kofi Kingston role tonight.
Yes.
And getting out flat on her back, wasn't eliminated because her feet were still in the air, and then used Bianca's hair to get herself back in the ring was pretty cool spot. Surprisingly short Alexa run, don't you think? That was shocking to me. Alexa was in and out in absolutely no time,
It just
considering her prominent role on TV. That was a little shocking.
it's like she made an appearance just to get in and get out and move on. It's like here's your Alexa Bliss fix for the night. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, yeah, and no fiend. I mean, no, nothing gimmicky there with that. I just was waiting for something more out of that whole build up the last couple of months, and
Well, they really did play that up that they got Alexa out before she could flip that switch. So
it was too many. I think that's their way of saying there was too much going on, too many women in the ring, and we're actually live, so we can't post produce this. uh, the final three, Doug, ended up being Bianca, Flair, and Ripley. At that point, I'm like, okay, no matter which way we go,
it's a win all around.
yeah.
Any three of those could have ran with it, but again, our pick won. I think the right person won. I would not have been offended at all if Rhea Ripley would have won. And Charlotte is an amazing talent, but I would rather see Charlotte doing something else. I'm not sure. I want to see her. I definitely don't want to see her with Lacey Evans in a program that will last all the way to WrestleMania. But
And
I don't know. Maybe that's what we're getting.
there's still time, obviously. We both kind of were booking it ourselves last week. I would be surprised if we're wrong now that Bianca has won. I would be surprised if she picks anyone other than the boss, which would leave Asuka free. If Charlotte was to do this program for the next month and a half with Lacey, and somehow Charlotte finds her way back into the Raw title scene.
Yeah, I would be all right with that.
But yeah, at the end, I'm like, I'm fine for any of these three women. But Flair, having been there before and always being close to the top of the card, I was really kind of hoping for Bianca, and would have been totally fine if it would have been Rhea also, because I think both those women are the future of the business. And so yeah, I couldn't have been happier with the way that it went. Overall, pretty strong women's Royal Rumble.
Absolutely, I agree.
And then so next, Doug, they instead of doing what they've done almost every year since they've had two, where they opened with one, closed with the other. This year we only had one match for a buffer match, but honestly, if you're looking for match of the night, this probably was the match of the night.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. My favorite match, I think, was the women's rumble, just because I think a lot of girls got over and got the shine in the match. But man, you can't really go wrong with the Tribal Chief and KO right now.
And there's not much that KO Kevin Owens would do to not sell a match. I mean, he will absolutely bump his behind off, and that's what he did for the Tribal Chief tonight. We knew what the outcome would be, spoiler, folks, if you thought that KO was going to pull this one out. We knew he wasn't, but we also knew that he would put on a great show, and Roman Reigns retains. But man, that match for a last man standing contest, I thought that the Thunderdome made for a really good, visual. Them fighting up into the LED screens was a very unusual look. KO with the big bump first off the Thunderdome crowd setup, and then of course later on getting ran over by a golf cart, and then probably even one up that by going up off the forklift.
I gotta say, man, that golf cart bump at first, and when they went out more into the stadium, I was like, okay, this is very AEW, but they have it to work with. Then there's the golf cart bump, and at first I'm like, really, a golf cart? I was, well, but okay, KO took a serious golf cart bump. Sammy Guevara was not bumped like that on a golf cart.
No, Sammy was smart enough to allow himself to barely get clipped by the golf cart and then sell it like he got ran over. KO just let himself get ran over. Like, dude, that's not. You're not really supposed to get hit by the golf cart.
Call Sammy to see how you bump on a golf cart.
Someone tell Kevin Owens this stuff's fake.
Right.
Honestly, I think they were on a 4-star level match. And it's just kind of unfortunate that there was a little bit of a botch at the end that probably took like a half a star off of it. Because you have the situation where Roman has been handcuffed and is supposed to be counted down, and Paul's supposed to save him, but the ref just stops counting because Paul can't get the handcuffs undone, and then because the ref stopped counting for, he was up to 5 or 6 when he stopped counting. And by the time they convinced, somebody must have got in the ear and told Roman, at least get up to a knee so it looks believable while we've stopped the count. It still took a couple minutes for Paul to actually get those handcuffs off, which means KO had to be off to the side selling the nut shot for like 10 minutes. So the ending got clunky, but up until that, they had a great contest.
Again, it's WrestleMania season now, and I think it's a great opener for it. This was just a brutal match, man, and there's still a lot of great character work that Roman Reigns continues to do as this tribal chief character, where he's mouthing to Kevin Owens like about how he can't quit, about how people depend on him to put food on the table and all that, just leaning into the character. And of course, KO is KO, man. I mean,
it's where does Kevin go from here? He's had a great run with 3 great matches against Roman. Obviously, Roman is destined for a more high profile opponent. No offense to KO,
right.
but just, it is what it is. But KO made no more appearances. He was not in the Rumble or anything. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see if KO gets any sort of consolation prize for the role he has played as a great foil and helping to continue build that tribal chief character.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I mean, these guys did exactly what they were supposed to do, played their roles to a T, and yet again tonight, the right person won.
The right person won. And Doug, I thought for a minute there, now that we'll go to the last match, which is the men's Royal Rumble, I thought, we mentioned the Royal Rumble being the hardest match to call just because the many numbers of possible winners, many of whom you don't even know of until the night of. So I was getting excited. I'm thinking, I am going to pick both the men and women. I'm going to be 2 for 2. It
Because
came pretty
I told
close.
you last week you won the Royal Rumble. I was totally on board with that pick. I was like, yes, Rollins will come in. And he comes in at what, like 29?
Yeah, and then was there right at. I'm like, this is it. He's got it. I'm going to be 2 for 2. Uh, that did not go that way. I honestly was legitimately surprised that they went with Edge as your winner. Surprises, returns, much smaller list than what we had with the women. But Edge, of course, who was known, but that is a significant return. He'd been out for what, 6 months, 7, something along those lines. Carlito, which was a big surprise, only because he's not in great graces or didn't leave on the best of terms with WWE, and kind of talks smack about them most chances that he gets. But he looked jacked.
He looked really good tonight, man.
He did.
Really
Damian Priest coming up in a good NXT call up if you're going to have an NXT showcase. Also, he did the big man thing where he was allowed to get a lot of eliminations and shine. Kane, we probably now the first mayor to ever appear in a Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Hurricane was in for a cup of coffee. Of course, Christian was back with the big surprise.
Good to see Edge and Christian in the ring together.
Seth and then Strowman. Yes. So yeah, Edge and Chris. Okay. So like the overarching storyline of this men's Royal Rumble was tag team reunions, because you had Edge and Christian reunited. You had Team Hell No reunite for a brief moment. You had a bar reunion.
Yep.
So a lot of guys hugging in this. There's a lot more hugging than you used to seeing in a Royal Rumble.
This is true. I really not. It hadn't clicked until just now, but there was a lot of hugging going on for this. For Bayley not to be involved in this.
Of course, it is. It says a lot. One, for Edge to not just get the nostalgia of welcome back, but for Edge to go bell to bell.
Yep.
And of course, as soon as Orton was doing the injury angle, you kind of knew, like, and I kind of hate that. I never have been that crazy about and he spent all day underneath the ring, or he's, exited and now he's coming back and it factors into the finish. But give Edge the credit, because that man worked the whole time. Orton, gets to be, go bell to bell and be at the finish, except, he spent 50 minutes of it back behind the curtain.
Yep. And I expected the Orton shenanigans to come back. I expected that to spiral into him somehow getting Edge eliminated or eliminating Edge. Then anyway, and then that continues their feud. Did not see this coming where Orton comes back right at the end. It tries to hit a RKO and, gets popped out. Didn't see that coming. I was like, well, okay, here it is. Edge has been here all this time. Orton comes back, you know, takes this, stills this.
Yeah.
Surprised.
I'm actually, I was surprised, and it's always good to be surprised.
Absolutely.
And Edge is certainly someone who deserves. I mean, he kept himself in good shape. It's not like a Goldberg situation where it's just a one-time nostalgia kind of thing, and I'll come get my spots in and not take up too much time on your card. Edge has shown he can still go long form matches just like he did tonight. It takes some
Uh-huh.
lung capacity to do an entire Royal Rumble, and he still can work. So I'm still just kind of surprised that they would at this point consider him for a WrestleMania main event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now it's like you have to wonder: is that does Orton find his way to continue his Drew feud, get that belt off Drew, so that you have Orton Edge and finish that feud? Because it was obvious tonight that Orton Edge still has unfinished business. Do they
Mm-hmm.
do they continue mining that vein?
See, that's what I'm. It clearly seems that that's the direction they're going in. Just by, I mean, because Rumble, not only do you get a couple of people who are solid locks for their. Well, now, it used to be just the men's, but now we have the women and the men's championships. That we know Bianca Belair and Edge are going to be at WrestleMania and have title shots. Who those title shots are, we're not really sure yet.
Yeah, because you got two pay-per-views at least, one of which Elimination Chamber will include 5 or 6 men who could potentially wrest that belt away from Drew, where you end up in a even a three-way or something where you have like a multiple feud thing. Because
Mhm.
I mean, Orton and Drew, they had their business. Obviously, Orton and Edge have their business. That's a way that you can get all 3 men in a match. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go, and still a long time to get there.
Yep.
As far as the other things in the match, you saw a New Day reunion too. That's another
Yep.
tag team we forgot about. Um, you saw Bad Bunny outdo Snoop Dogg. With,
The same thing. I'm not sure, but I think maybe Bad Bunny has got Snoop has a few years on Bad Bunny though, so maybe maybe
we'll
in
give him
Snoop's
that.
years he could have nailed what he could have nailed that splash.
Um, gosh, you had I kind of like the tease that they gave to with Lashley and Big E. I'm like, more
Mhm.
of that, please, because
Yeah.
those two trucks smacking on each other. I also really liked and hope that they go this direction. Um, there was a great moment with a couple of moments actually with Riddle and Daniel Bryan where you realize that those two, if you wanted to
Mhm.
go and just have that technical on the mat MMA strike kick kind of fight at a Mania or the feud leading into Mania, more of that
Yeah.
also I would love.
Yep.
Of
I
course,
would
they gave somebody has to be the monster every Royal Rumble. And get all the eliminations tonight. That looks like they were giving that to Strowman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I'm just kind of lukewarm on Braun
Yeah.
Strowman. I don't know what role he plays going out of that or where he gets from that, but um, yeah. And then there was the other than the Bad Bunny business, there was also the odd beer sponsorship that apparently Rey Mysterio is now brought to you by Mexican beer.
Yes.
I thought, well, that's probably another first Royal Rumble first, but overall, I mean, there was never any slow moments. I think no matter what, last year's Royal Rumble was so uh, to me in the top tier of Royal Rumbles in the modern era, at the very least. That even under the best of circumstances, there's no way that this Rumble was going to be able to measure up.
Right.
I know next week when we return at our normal time for one of our normal shows, our main event topic next week's going to be our pandemic show where we talk about the presentation of wrestling right now in the pandemic era. And I think that to sort of foreshadow a little bit of that discussion, I realized while watching tonight's show, at least for me, I thought to myself that, Royal Rumble seems to be, I think, affected more by the lack of a crowd than even your normal pay per view.
Yes.
There's the, for one, the Thunderdome, which I like overall, it still was just the normal Thunderdome. So, usually with their big four pay per views, there's a big stadium or something different about
Hmm.
the look to give it that big show feel. It looked like a normal Raw or SmackDown because it takes place in the same spot.
That's
And
true.
that hurts the show, and it's no fault of anybody, behind the scenes. Obviously, they're trying to be safe, play it smart, but it does the tier. And I do realize that, fans are obviously missed for all matches, but that 10, 9, 8, yes, they still had them in there.
Yeah, the piped in crowd has gotten so much better on the WWE product, but it's still with the Rumble and like last year's WrestleMania, it's just not the same.
You can't get the legitimate like fan reactions
Hmm.
because Royal Rumble is not just about like boos and cheers. It's the surprises, like the genuine, like, these fans really missed seeing this person because listen to that pop this person got when they
Hmm.
returned, and knowing that that's all piped in and pre-produced, it did deter a little bit away from what makes the Rumble special. Probably hurt the match in some ways, in a fashion that just simply can't be helped right now. It just is what it is. But definitely, hopefully next year we get back into an environment that's safe for everyone to get in there and count down and boo and cheer. And this is
Yeah.
awesome. And give those pops, because I can't imagine that a guy like Christian coming back and having an ENC reunion wouldn't get a legitimate
Hmm.
80,000 stadium
Right. Blow the roof
goodwill
off the
pop.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, that you just can't replicate in the Thunderdome. But good effort by everybody involved, overall. But very standard pay per view as far as Royal Rumbles go. No huge surprises other than maybe the outcome of the final one. I guess that's probably my biggest surprise of the night.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure where we go with that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
We'll see where we go with that because, Doug, we are officially on the road to fans. I mean, WrestleMania. They have announced, it is official, that Romania will be the first show since WWE show since March of last year to have fans. But that is a topic for another time. In fact, Doug, let's have it next week.
Let's do it. I will rant about safety and health in the global pandemic.
We
But
are back next week, folks, at our normal 8 o'clock time. And our main event topic, as we just are previewing, is wrestling in the pandemic era. Everyone's doing it different. We're, now a year into this. When we did our first pandemic show, we did not know we'd be doing a second one, but a lot's changed in a year. A
yeah,
lot's changed in the way of production. A lot of it's gotten better. Some of it's still not so crazy about. Let's know what you think. Join us next week. And thanks for staying up a little bit late with us tonight.
thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.